All right, here's a screencast for 2.3, complementary and supplementary angles. So complementary angles are angles whose sum is 90 degrees, versus supplementary angles are two angles whose sum is 180 degrees. So if I add these two angles, 32 degrees plus 58 degrees, I'm going to get 90 degrees. So if you complement someone, you don't get big feelings as if you take supplements, right? If you take supplements, it's like you get big and bulky. So that's the way I remember it, weird as it may be. Supplementary are the larger ones. If you're really trying to bulk up and, gain weight and gain muscle, you're taking supplements, you're going to be 180. Whereas you compliment someone, that's nice. It's only 90. It's not as big. Okay, so example 1. Oh, I forgot to add. If I add 134 plus 46, we get 180 degrees. Cool. So, determine whether angles are complementary, which is 90 degrees, supplementary, which is 180 degrees, or neither, if they are neither angle measure. So, for instance, this first one, we have 22 degrees, and we're adding 158 degrees. So that's going to be 180, and if it measures 180, they're going to be supplementary. And if we add these other two, 15 plus 85 is 100, so this is neither. This is neither 90 or 180. I could take 55 plus 35, that's going to be equal to 90. So we say that these are complementary. They add up to 90. They add up to be a right angle. If I take 30 plus 39, we have 69 degrees, and so this is going to be neither. If I add 41 plus 49 degrees, I get 90, and so that's going to be complementary. And then lastly, if I take 32 and add 148, this is going to equal 180, so this is going to be supplementary. All right, so adjacent angles. Adjacent angles are two angles that share a common vertex. So remember, the vertex is the endpoint where the rays meet. So this angle has a vertex at this point, and then if I take this angle right here, angle 2 also has that same vertex. So we could say angle 1 and 2 are adjacent because not only do they have a common vertex, but also a common side. So this common side right here, let's see. So this common side is shared between 1 and 2, and they have the same vertex. So this means they can't have any common interior points. So if I have an angle this way, and I have an angle like this, so notice that these are common interior points. These would not be adjacent angles. Although they have the same vertex, they don't have the same endpoint. Okay, so let's determine whether these angles are adjacent or non-adjacent. So 1 and 2, right? These are non-adjacent. They don't share the same endpoint. They don't share a common side. I mean, if we shove them together, they would be. But these are non-adjacent angles. Over here, we have a common endpoint. We have a common side. So these are going to be adjacent angles. And then over here, I have angle 5, angle 6. So although they share a common endpoint, they don't have a common side. So these are non-adjacent. So let me illustrate that a little better for you. This is angle 5. This is angle 6. Although they have the same endpoint, they do not share a common side. So they are non-adjacent. That just means they are not adjacent. Okay, find each of the following angle measures. Okay, so first, A is a complement. So what this means is it equals 90 degrees of C. So together, what this means is the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle C have to be 90 degrees. So A is a complement of C because together they will equal 90 degrees. But wait, if we know that A is 47 degrees, we can find the measure C. So if A is 47 degrees, plus the measure of angle C equals 90. I just have to subtract 47 from both sides, and I see that the measure of angle C is going to be 43 degrees. Awesome. Okay, try the next one. P is a supplement. Okay, well, supplement means adds to 180. So if I take the measure of angle P plus the measure of angle R, together it's going to equal 180. We know the measure of angle R is 36, so the measure of angle P plus 36 is 180. Subtract 36 from both sides, and the measure of angle P is going to be 144 degrees. B is a complement. Okay, so this is equaling 90. So measure of angle B plus the measure of angle D is equal to 90 degrees, and we know D is 79. So the measure of angle B plus 79 degrees is 90. So subtract 79 from both sides, and we get that the measure of angle B is going to be 11 degrees. Let's see, G is supplement, so this should say G. G is a supplement of H, so adds to 180. So the measure of angle G plus the measure of angle H should equal 180. So if I know that G is 115 degrees, and I add whatever angle H is, together they equal 180. Subtract 115 degrees. So the measure of angle H is going to be equal to 65 degrees. So here is a theorem. So theorem is a true statement that follows from other true statements. So 2.1 congruent complement theorem. If two angles are complement to the same angle, then they are congruent. So let's say that this is 30 degrees, and this angle is 60, and this angle is 30. So we know that if we add the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2, so it's 30 plus 60, it's going to be 90 degrees. We also know if I add the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3, those two angles are also 90 degrees. So wait, since those are equal, since they both add to 90, I can actually set these equal to one another. I can say the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 2 is equal to the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3. Because they're both equal to 90, both the additions equal to 90, I can just set them equal to each other. Now wait, let's see what happens if I subtract the measure of angle 2 from both sides. I end up saying that the measure of angle 1 is equal to the measure of angle 3. And wait, if the measures of the angles are the same, that means that the angles are congruent, right? This follows that angle 1 is going to be congruent to angle 3. And the congruent supplements theorem is just alike. Right? If two angles are supplementary, add to 180. If two angles add to 180, then they are going to be congruent. So two angles are supplementary to the same angle, then they're going to be congruent. So let's say that this is measure like 130, 50, and 50. So I say that the measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 5 is equal to 180 because they are supplementary, right? I add 50 plus 80, 50 plus 130, and that's 180. I can add the measure of angle 5 plus the measure of angle 6, and that's also 180. So wait, if they're both equal to 180, I can set the two additions equal. Measure of angle 4 plus the measure of angle 5 is going to equal the measure of angle 5 plus the measure of angle 6. By subtracting the measure of angle 5 from both sides, I find the measure of angle 4 is equal to the measure of angle 6. But wait, if the angles measures are equal, that means the angles themselves are going to be congruent. Okay. Algebra review, solve the equation. So you need to get all the x's, all the same variable on the same side. So what I need to do for number 1 is I'm just going to subtract x on both sides. 14 is negative 7x minus 6 minus x. right, minus 6x minus x. Subtracting is the same thing as adding a negative. So I'm just adding one more in the negative direction, which is negative 7. And then I must divide by negative 7 on both sides. So negative 2 is equal to x. Alright, I'm going to subtract 3x on the left side. So that way I get 2x. And then I will rewrite my line. And then if I add 1 on both sides, I get 2x is equal to 8. Divide by 2 and I get x is 4. Alright, let's subtract 3r from both sides. And the reason I always go, so I have a coefficient that is like positive. I like having a coefficient in front of my variable that's positive. Subtract 18, I get negative 20 equals 4r, and divide by 4, so we have negative 5 is r. Alright, distribute out the 3. So 3 minus 3y equals 5 minus 2y. So I'm going to add 3y to both sides. So 3 equals 5 plus y. Subtract 5, negative 2 equals y. Alright, one more page of notes to go. So if we continue on, we say 7 and 8 are supplementary. So this means they're going to add to 180. And 8 and 9 are supplementary. Okay, so that means add to 180. So, interesting. Name a pair of congruent angles and explain your reasoning. So if these two angles, 7 and 8, add to 180, but then we turn around and say 8 and 9 add to 180, they're supplemented with the same angle, angle 8. So that means 7 and 9 must be congruent angles. Angle 7 is congruent to angle 9 because of the congruent supplement theorem. If the measure of angle 7 is 35, find the other angle measures. Okay, so the measure of angle 8 and the measure of angle 9. Well, we said 7 and 9 are congruent, so that means 9 must be 35 degrees as well. And then if I take 180 and minus 35, we get 145. Because together they add to 180. So I know if I take 35 plus the measure of angle 8, they have to equal 180. Subtract 35 and I get 145 degrees. Okay. 10 and 11 are complementary. Alright, so add to 90 degrees. 11 and 12 are complementary. Means they add to 90 degrees. Add to 90 degrees. So wait, notice that I have 11 is the one in common here. So since 11 is in common, that means 10 and 12 must be congruent, right? Then pair of congruent angles. Angle 10 has to be congruent to angle 12 because the congruent complement theorem. Congruent complements theorem. If measure of angle 10 is 46, find the other angle measures. So measure of angle 12 has to be 46 degrees as well because we just said they're congruent. Versus the measure of angle 11, let's see, 90 minus 46 is going to be 44 degrees. Because together, right, together the 46 and 44 add to 90. So if I took 90 minus the angle I know, it would give me the angle I'm looking for. So if I subtract, so 90 degrees, right, we said they are complementary. So 46 degrees, so the measure of angle 10 plus the measure of angle 11 has to be 90. So subtract 46 and I get my missing angle measure. Alright, last one. C and D are supplementary. The measure of D is 8 times the measure of C. Find the measure of C and D. Okay, so let's say the measure of angle C is X. D is 8 times the measure of C, so the measure of angle D is going to be 8 times that, so 8x. And we know these angles are supplementary, so they add to 180. So if I add the measure of angle C plus the measure of angle D, it's going to equal 180 degrees. So if I put an x plus 8x, it's 180. So So 9x is 180 degrees. Divide by 9 on both sides. X is going to be 20. So plugging back in, C is 20, and then D is going to be 8 times 20. So the measure of angle C is 20 degrees. This means the measure of angle D, 8 times 2 is 16, so this is 160 degrees. And that's it for this lesson.